Hey everyone, Felipe here. Welcome to another Tower Saviors GNN review video. In this video, we will be taking a look at the newest GNN, which will have the virtual rebirth news for one of Tower Saviors' oldest series, the Norns. So, if you didn't know, the Norns have been in the game pretty much since the beginning, but their usage has pretty much dwindled down ever since. At most, you would see people use Erd, the Water Norn, Verdanli, the Earth Norn, Hilda for unlocking, and Skull for Time Tunnel. Edun was a very niche use for recovery, but yeah, nowadays you don't really see Erd because she freezes, and back in the day she was the only one that froze. But now you have so many cards that freezes, and her skill cooldown used to be I think 12 or 15, which is insanely long. So now that we have like CD6 freezes and things like that, no one has really used Erd. I think nowadays the one that I use the most is going to be the Dark Norn card, Brunhilde, because she is one of the few cards that can unlock your entire team. So it is very useful that way. But again, because so many cards have been coming out that can also unlock your team, her usage also started to decline. Verdanli also very situational, Skull also situational. I think she gives you a time tunnel, but nowadays we have a lot of time tunnels, and Edun recovers HP, which is not bad, but again, in this game, the most important thing is to kill your enemy before it kills you. So recovery HP tends to not be that great, and because of that, I'm very excited to see what the virtual rebirth is going to be, because virtual rebirth will give you two different modes, right? One is going to be the divergent, and the other one's like the original. So with these two, we have two new skills. Maybe they will become really good and I will have to swallow my own words. But yeah, let's take a look at them. So Virtual Rebirth Norns team skill. Okay, condition. When there are only Water God members with Erd in the team. Same thing, same thing. Oh, that is nice. That's very nice. So here's the thing. So because the Norns has always been a support series, you never run them as allies or leaders because their leader multipliers are pretty low. You used to run Idun as an ally back in the beginning of the game with a Fawn or things like that. But nowadays, when team skills are so prevalent, you're not going to use them as leaders. So this is a really nice team skill for them to have as a support because they just boost your team's HP and recovery unconditionally without having to do anything just by being in the team. You do have to run a mono god team, but mono god is not that rare. We have Greek gods, we have Norse gods, we have Babylon gods. So mono god teams aren't that rare. So this is a really nice thing, increases your HP and recovery by 1.5 just by being in the team. If you have played Mono Demons, you know how Samle is really valuable because he boosts your HP. Basically, Norns are gonna do that for you, and both of them looks like it. I'm guessing these two different names are going to be the Divergent, as well as the new Virtual Rebirth Norns. So both Norn cards will boost your team HP and recovery. And even if you're not running Mono Gods, they might still be good members. So let's keep going. And let's take a look at their leader skill. Yeah, see, so refinement. Lead attack, God attack times 6, recovery 1.5. Water and God possess 50% effect of each other. We knew this. They're not great leaders. Don't use them as leaders. You have so many better leaders to choose from. Attack times 6 is pretty so don't use that one. Same thing, recovery times 6, attack times 1.5. Yeah, so if you're also don't run Idun as leader. Huh? Yeah, sure. I mean, unless the entire stage is overheal, this is useless. That being said, if the entire stage is overheal enemies, 8 times 6 recovery is going to be really nice. I will go ahead and say, part of me thinks that this should be attack and this should be recovery because there's no shot, this is attack. Your attack is 1.5, no shot. So even then, if it's attack times 6, that's still pretty terrible. We are reaching the meta where attack times 7 is low. So, you know, times 6 is real low. Same thing, attack times 6. Yeah, I mean, yep. So, you know, this is the same for fire and earth, except this attribute here becomes fire or earth, depending on the Norn that you have. But all in all, a pretty terrible leader skills. But refinement. Um, so refinement active skills. Let's take a look. So see, this is the issue. Like CD10 freezing skill, it's not great, especially because we have like a CD6 freezing skill for 2 rounds, things like that. Anyways, but yeah, 3 round freezing is really nice. So if you have the rounds to store or stall for CD, then Urt is really good because she's the longest freeze in the game at 3 rounds. Most of them only freeze for 2 or 1. But her cooldown is significantly bigger than the counterparts. With Amelioration, I believe her skill cooldown goes lower. I'm pretty sure her skill cooldowns go lower. Let me confirm that with you before I like give you fake news. But yeah, inactivate them, reduce their defense to 0, and alter their enemies to water. When the effect is in play, extend Runestone movement regardless by 5 seconds, and Runestone's touch will be converted into enchanted god runes. So, actually, I think her active skill becomes really, really good. And this is because there's a lot of utility packed into it. The only thing that's holding her back, really, is going to be the 10 skill cooldown, 10 rounds of skill cooldown, which honestly, it's really long and potentially not worth. Never mind, her amelioration does not reduce her cooldown by much. It's still better than the original because her power release version had a 13 round skill cooldown, so that's still a 3 round reduction, but skill CD10 is still really long. I mean, the utility that you get out of it is pretty good, don't get me wrong. You inactivate them, you change their attribute to water, you reduce their defense to 0, which is always really nice. You don't have to worry about breaking defensive enemies with this. Extending runestone movement time also nice, and touching runestones and transforming them into enchanted god runestones is also really useful because you can get rid of mask runes, you can get rid of weakened, you can get rid of muck runes and things like that. But again, CD10 is really long. And honestly, the only real use that we would have for this card is to counter freezing shields or inactivating an enemy for 3 rounds. Other than that, I think the other things are just nice to have, but not absolutely necessary. So, her active skill on refinement, the refinement version, it's better because you got a 3 round cooldown reduction, but in my opinion, skill CD10 is still really long and definitely has other replacement that you can use instead of this card, because stalling for 10 rounds, most of the times you might already kill the entire stage in less than 10 rounds, depending on the stage, you know? So waiting for 10 rounds might not be that viable, but it's still a pretty good skill and will situationally see some use. But honestly, still pretty terrible with the long cooldown. But yeah, Scald, Fire, Valkyrie, CD6, Time Tunnel of 12 seconds, 2.2 attack increase, and a combo count increase of +8 for EX combo. Honestly, this is a pretty good card. And actually, I should be bringing up the original freaking. Let's see. I'm gonna pull up the Norns. Just because, you know what? Just because I want to see what their original skills were. Shoot, let me see. Index. God, navigate the index. This is a god card. There we go. So Schooled is a CD8. Wait, no, CD9 time tunnel. It's reduced to CD6. You get Oh yeah, so School definitely improved a lot because she used to be a skill cooldown 9 time tunnel for 10 seconds. So now it increases to 12 seconds. Fire members and God members, fire members would increase their attack by 2 times. Now it's 2.2 times, and now you include God members. It doesn't just have to be fire members. And there was a condition for this attack increase where you had to do 8 or more combos. But now that condition is completely gone, and you get an additional EX combo count of +8. And even though EX combos are not that useful because they will not help you break combo shields, they will still increase your attack. So this is going to be a nice attack boost. And the CD6 time tunnel is going to be one of the fastest time tunnels. Usually time tunnels are CD8, CD7, with some being CD6. So having a CD6 time tunnel, definitely good to have, and I think she is a good candidate to Virtual Rebirth the first because gives a lot of utility and attack boosting potential for your entire team. Next we have Verdanli, which is Verdanli is pretty nice because you used to use it for absorbing HP from the enemies, and this could break a lot of shields like tumbler shields and things like that. But the amount that you absorb has become pretty negligible now, and basically it doesn't really see much play now. Her skill cooldowns goes from CD6 to CD5, but now we have Parasitized, deal a non-attribute damage of 10 times the monster's attack, recovery basic value, regardless of defense and enemy skills until defeated. This effect could be superimposed at most 5 times. If the leader is a god, turn all runestones into enchanted runes. So honestly, this card was amazing in the past. This card was definitely one of a really powerful card, and not because the skill was good, it's because there was something that we used to call a grind team. And a grind team was basically you just put in cards that will prevent you from dying. You get a lot of cards that recover HP, a lot of damage reduction. So I think like Wukong Daji, damage reduction, you would not die, the enemy could not kill you, and then but your damage was going to be pretty bad. And in those teams, because your damage is pretty bad, you can stall for as many rounds as you want. And so you would activate Verdanli to absorb the enemy's HP. It becomes a little bit, but you can superimpose it 3 times. Now you can superimpose it 5 times. And the enemy will slowly die, and then you would win the round. You would also bring some like burst options to kill some annoying enemies, but overall grind teams was don't let the enemy kill you, slowly decrease their health, and Verdandi was like an absolute beast in those teams. Nowadays where the meta has switched to kill the enemy with a lot of damage, her skill became really niche and not that useful. And now, so before it was 2 times recovery basic value, now it's 10 times recovery basic value, so it's going to give you more HP absorption, and you can superimpose it 5 times instead of just 3. If there is a resurgence in grind teams, this is going to be amazing. However, that's probably not gonna happen because there is an enemy with a skill called Phantom, which will ignore all your defensive attributes, all defensive skills. So usually those kill you in 1 round. You have 100 HP reduction, 100% HP reduction enemies, things like that. So grind teams are less viable now. But if they are to become viable, Verdanli is going to definitely be a very good choice for that. And the other thing that makes me feel a little bit and definitely will help Verdanli see some play is the fact that Parasitized is a status condition, and you know how Madhead loves giving you status shields. So like, if the enemy is not frozen, if the enemy is not venomed, if the enemy is not petrified, if the enemy is not ignited, there is a chance that Madhead would include it if the enemy is not parasitized. In which case, Verdanli is the only parasitized status inflictor right now. She might see some use. But yeah, other than that, Verdanli might not also. Yeah, Verdanli might not see that much play. But my little buddy, where you go? Why are you so low? No, 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 no. But yeah, so Verdanli definitely good. If grind teams become a thing again, nowadays her skill might just be really, really, really situational. Next we have Edun. Now we have a restore crack position in the column below gods, and recover HP as much as 50 times the character's recovery basic value. This is going to be really nice. CD6. She used to be CD. Oh gosh. CD11, CD10 even, and she would only recover your HP by 10 times for 5 rounds. Now she recovers HP by 50 times, and this is going to be really nice because it's 5 rounds of 50 times HP recovery, which can help you a lot with poison enemies as well as recovery 0 enemies. And now you also restore crack positions, and I think that's going to be one of the better uses for her because there aren't that many cards in the game that can restore crack positions, and so she is going to be pretty good for that. That being said, she only restores crack positions underneath gods, so you have to run a mono god team in order to restore all crack positions, but depending on how your board is positioned, you might still be able to swing it in a non-mono god team. So her skill definitely good. I'm just looking at her eyes now. Part of me thinks her eyes are a little bit weird, twisted, out of proportion. It's making me uncomfortable. Yeah. Actually, no. Yeah, it's just you, Edun. What the? Anyways. Yeah. 50 times recovery, basic value recovery for 5 rounds. Definitely really nice. And I can definitely see use, especially in like stages where you have like you cannot damage the enemy, but it will reduce its HP by 1/5 every round. But for example, you might have a 5 round of 0 recovery. So now you add Idun on that, and she will help you recover your HP during those 5 rounds, and the enemy will just kill itself. But yeah, bring Hilda the Scythe of Survival. This is the most used one that I had, and she used to be CD10, now she's CD7. Definitely is going to see more use now, because the reason I stopped using her was because we got EVA 13, which also releases locked skills. And yeah, releases all the locked skills from your team, and it's shorter cooldown. So now CD7 release locking skills, definitely more use. Combo count will be 10, and team attack will increase by two times. This is going to be a little bit different. I mean, she used to give your team attack an increase of 1.5 times, so now it gives you a times 2. But she also used to have a 2.5 team attack increase for the next round if you killed everything, which actually came into play sometimes. So that thing disappeared. It's not bad because now you have a combo count will be 10 for sure, and that is very useful. Part of me thinks it's like a little bit of watered down EVA 13 because EVA 13 gives you a guaranteed combo 13. But you know, for a Matter original card and a really old card, this is pretty nice. The second effect though, clear all controlling skills on all enemies. I don't know if it's going to be useful. Like, nowadays if you put a controlling skill on an enemy, it's always good. Like it froze, good. It froze for 2 rounds. That's good for you. You stunned it for 5 rounds. You want the 5 rounds of extra stun. There are 2 cases that I can think of where she is going to be useful. One is normally the round after your controlling skill ends, the enemy will still have a controlling skill, which means that you're not allowed to put another controlling skill on them. Case in point, if, for example, you froze an enemy for 2 rounds, those 2 rounds expire. On the 3rd round, he will still have the little frozen icon, and you're not able to freeze it again, or petrify it, or ignite it, or do anything to him again. And that means that if you need to delay the enemy for 3 rounds, you either have to do it with one single card that can delay it for 3 rounds or more, or you have to delay it for 2 rounds and then eat the attack on the 3rd round, or delay using craft skills, or avoid the attack with other like hidden like avoiding skills. But if you run Bring Hilda in your team, you might be able to get rid of that little icon and allow yourself to inflict another status element on the enemy. That being said, that's a lot of cards to bring in a single team, and the amount of team slots that you have is not that big, so you might not want to do that. The other use case that I can think of, and I really hope it doesn't come to this, is if Madhead introduces a self-buffing controlling skill on the enemy. Either if the enemy inflicts itself with a, I don't know, ×2 rage, whatever, right? It increases its attack. Not only are you not allowed to put controlling skills on it, but now you're facing a buffed enemy. So if you have this card, you might be able to reset that buff and have an easier time. Is that in the game? No. Will it be in the game? I also don't know. But if it is, then this skill will be very useful. But if you're trying to remove effects from the board, why bring an effect that only removes controlling skill on the enemy? You can bring a card that removes all effects, and in the case that you encounter another stage that needs to remove effects, you can use the card again. Meanwhile, this one will only work against controlling skills on enemies, so it makes it really super specific and not that flexible in terms of other enemy skills and things like that. Still a pretty good card for unlocking your teams, because this is not race or attribute specific. She will release all the locked skills of all members, and that is absolutely amazing. A lot of the release cards in the game are very attribute, series, or race specific, so the fact that you have a general unlocker at CD7 is going to be pretty good. So definitely a good candidate for you to virtual rebirth. So in my opinion, in terms of virtual rebirthing, if you don't have the resources to get all of them, just based on the refinement skills, I would say refine Scold first, because Time Tunnel at CD6 is amazing. Brynhilde for the release of lock skills, and then the other 3 up to you whenever you want to. But that being said, we still have not looked at the divergent part of the virtual rebirth, so that's also going to be a factor on what I would recommend for you to virtual rebirth first. So let's see, now we have divergence, leader skills. Again, Norns are not really useful for being leaders, and divergence series, whenever you virtual rebirth a card, the divergence version is not that good of a leader either, is more designed as a member, so we'll just really skip over the leader skill. That being said, I do like the artwork. It looks like pretty new, pretty crisp. But yeah, ×5, yeah, you know. All Divergence characters have the same leader skill, so we're now going to take a look at that. Ooh, she looks nice. But yeah, so Verdanli, CD7. Turn all runestones into 15 earth and 15 heart runes. 15 human earth human runes and 15 human heart runes. After dissolving runes, the first 30 runes to be dropped will be earth and heart runes. The reason... Oh wait, all characters have the same active skill? CD7. I'm conflicted. I'm very conflicted. So here's the thing. This is going to be a great active skill, and tell you what. There are these enemies in the game where they will require you to dissolve 50 runes of the same attribute, and not all teams can do that. For example, Norse gods, you're pretty much limited by the amount of skydrop that you get, or you have to use conversion. Greek gods have an easy time, Babylon have an easy time, but like other teams that are not able to generate your own attribute, they are not able to generate 55 runes in like 3 rounds. And the reason why I say 3 rounds is because there's enemies that have 3-round cooldown, which will require you to dissolve 55 runes, and they have 100% HP reduction on their attack. So either you have a good team that can generate 55 runes in 2 rounds, or you have a enemy delay skill, you have a craft that can delay enemies, you have really good skydrop luck, or you use an active skill. And there aren't that many cards in the game that can guarantee skydrop of a specific attribute, but the fact that every single Norn card will guarantee the skydrop of that attribute is definitely going to help you with those types of enemies. That being said, if the stage doesn't have those types of enemies, then their skill doesn't really matter. It will give you a big chunk of attacking runes, but they're also not in fixed positions or fixed drops, I don't think. So you might also get really unlucky with skydrop, but who knows. The other thing that makes me a little bit conflicted is why would the race of the runestones be human when all the Norns are more suited to be run in monogod teams? Like for example, the team skill only activates if you're running a mono attribute god team. So why do you need human runes when you're running a monogod team? Yeah, I don't know. Conflicted. I mean, is it a good skill? It is very situational. It's not a bad skill. I can see cases where you definitely want to use these cards. But are there better cards? Yes. Are there cards that do more than them? Yes. Will you survive without them? Most definitely yes. Will they make stages easy? Depending on the enemy, yes. But is it absolutely necessary? Not really. So in my opinion, I would say for virtual rebirth purposes, I think fire refinement for the time tunnel, dark refinement for lock skills, and the other ones up to your resource level, because virtual rebirthing a card actually takes quite a bit of resources, and so you might not want to do that if you don't have to. But their divergence skill might be useful if you don't have cards like Lynx or Uncle 2, which is a collaboration card, so you might not see it again. Things that can guarantee your skydrop are pretty rare, so definitely it's useful to have. So If you need further example of how good guaranteed skydrop is, just look at Lilith. The fact that she can guarantee skydrop of whatever attribute she wants is really powerful, and you've definitely seen it in a lot of people play Lilith teams because of that and have an easy time. So yeah, their diversion skill is not bad, just a little bit confusing as why to its human rules. Very situational, so not as game changing as I thought it would have been. I was excited because I thought with a virtual rebirth, their second active skill or their divergence form would be amazing, and then you would be able to have the Norns have a more active role in the current meta. But it seems like they are still going to be a pretty niche support and not going to see that much play in the current meta, in my opinion, at least. I do think they still are going to see some play. There's always a spot for them if needed, but you can always bring other cards. But yeah, challenge stage, a war against fate. Yeah, this is pretty nice. New virtual rebirth series, new challenge stage. Horror stage, nice. Electric sparks of obliteration. You look like a very old Darwin from like the Mechanical Cyborg series. Anyways, I did not say that. But yeah, Spyful Titanium K, Space Pirates. Oh, Space Pirates, of course. We have Horror Stage, same thing. Break everything. Cool. Earth Machina, makes sense. CD5, clear hypnotized state of the character. Oh, you had so much potential. Anyways, explode weather runes, electrify runes, and frozen runes. Upon successful explosion, skill cooldown -4. For 2 rounds, the character and the neighboring Earth members or Machinas launches 2 extra attacks, 1 each for light and dark. Honestly, not a bad skill. There aren't that many cards in the game that can clear Hypnotized, so being able to clear Hypnotized is definitely a good thing. The only thing that I'm like a little bit disappointed about is that you only clear Hypnotized on yourself and not on the entire team. And with that, you only have 1 attacking member, which means that you might not be able to kill the enemy. So at that point, might as well still try to get rid of the hypnotized another way, so that not your entire team doesn't get hypnotized. Exploding weather runes, electrify runes, and frozen runes is pretty nice. Getting rid of a lot of board debuffs at CD5, pretty nice. And you also get a skill cooldown -4, which is also very useful. It is not going to be useful back to back, because if you already exploded all weather runes and electrify runes and frozen runes, actually no, that's not true. If you encounter an enemy that generates weather runes every round, you can activate K. Your skill cooldown will go -4, and then on the next round, when the enemy generates more weather rune stones or more electrify runes, you can activate her again. And because of that, if you get hypnotized, actually this comes into play. If your team is hypnotized, but they're generating electrify runes and things like that, you can still explode them and stall until your team overcomes the hypnosis and give yourself a better way to spin, because weather runes, electrify runes will always be a hazard when you spin. So if you can spin more, you can recover your HP and you will not be killed by the enemy. So it's a pretty useful skill in that scenario that I just pointed out. That scenario is going to be very situational, but I think it's still a pretty good card to obtain, especially because it's going to be a free-to-play horror stage card, and in my opinion, horror stage cards are the easiest to farm for, because you get 1 for each round that you do, and if you obtain max rewards, you get a skill level 10, which means that you only need what, 4 cards to fully level it up. So definitely not a bad thing to have, and going to be really easy to dual maxer. But yeah, we have an Earth Machina exclusive Dragonware. Earth Machina is only pretty simple Dragonware, honestly, like slight attack boosts, slight stat boosts, and you will never be using these for the craft skills, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, inbuilt snipe is not a bad thing, but I don't think you would be running this on your leader if you can run something like enemy delay, because enemy delay is amazing. Comeback summoner, mission rewards. Oh, nice. So if you come back, you get a 250 damage. Not bad. I mean, if you're watching these videos, you're probably already playing the game, and so you might not qualify for this reward. But if you're a returning player and you were checking out, oh, what's new? Definitely worth getting 250 damage. This is what, 100? No, wait, let's see. 10, 50 pulls. So this is definitely worth, because it can guarantee you the newest black gold card when it comes out, because black gold cards are at most 40 pulls for a guarantee. And if you use all those diamonds for the black gold card, you're also bound to get some of the newer series characters in the stage. So definitely take advantage of this comeback reward if you can. But yeah, yeah. So that's going to be all about for this GNN review. So a couple new things, new horror stage, and new Virtual Rebirth series, which honestly, I do think the Virtual Rebirth is a little bit, I mean, it's nice, but it's a little bit underwhelming in terms of skill revamps. I still think they could have done a little bit more with the Divergent series, but the refinements are pretty good buffs to their existing skills, but their existing skills are very situational, so again, I will say only Fire and Dark are absolutely worth if you really wanted to virtual rebirth them, and the other three are just very situational, with Verdanli potentially being really good if the conditions are right. And then after that, we have a new horror stage card, Dragon Aircraft, and some comeback rewards. But overall, a pretty short GNN news. But yeah, not a bad thing. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say about this GNN news. I'm excited for the virtual rebirth, and we'll keep waiting on that new black gold card that might be announced soon. Yeah, and when that comes, we will be doing a full review, and we'll take a look at to see what skills and team skills that card has. But yeah, for now, again, stay tuned on my YouTube channel. I post Tower Saviors content very regularly, as well as like reviews, stage clears, and things like that. And don't forget to leave a comment if you have a way for me to be better at these videos or other content that you might want to see. But yeah, for now, stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone!